up next on Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable. It's the final weekend before the general election. We'll have a preview of Tuesday's vote, and we'll discuss the surge of outside money pouring into state election races. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Mary Jo Pitzel of the Arizona Republic, Howard Fisher of Capital Media Services, and Mike Sunnix of the Phoenix Business Journal. Election night is fast approaching, Mary Jo, and can it get here quick enough?
Well, I'm sure about everybody in the state's ready to turn off their television sets, and they've had enough of the ads. If people haven't been persuaded by now, I just don't know what else it's going to take to get them to make up their minds.
What else is it going to take as far as the candidates are concerned? What's going on out there, last minute activity?
Well, a lot of canvassing over the weekend. We actually have really nice weather through most of the state, and especially the Democrats are making a big push to go out door to door knocking. Their rate of return on the early ballots is much lower than that of the Republicans, who have historically, been much better at mailing in their ballots.
Is that unusual, having that lower level for Democrats?
No, I think that's pretty typical.
And theoretically, it was the Democrats that are supposed to have the better ground game. They're the ones who were supposed to have, the groups, the unions who were out there gathering the ballots, doing the get out the vote, doing the calls. But the Republicans, through some of the Koch brothers finance groups, are going out there and doing that same sort of ground game for them. And if the Democrats in the state, given that they have a lower propensity group of backers, Latino voters are a lower propensity, younger voters are lower propensity, they really need to make up the difference, because I don't know if it's going to come from those independents.
I know you wrote about the Latino vote. What's going on out there regarding that get out the vote? Is there a get out the vote effort?
Well, every year we hear, this is the year. We've got folks registered, and they've done a great job registering Latino voters. The problem has been translating that into getting them to the polls or getting them to return the early ballots, which is what got us into this whole flap about having people go door to door and collect early ballots, and whether that's proper and whether that's legal. Supposedly, Latinos are going to account for about 14% of the votes this year, if you believe the predictions. In some close races, CD1, CD2 down in Tucson, that could really make the difference.
But statewide, there's nothing engaging those voters that Howie talked about, Hispanic voters, younger voters. Not a presidential year, not a ballot measure that's drawn voters to the polls. And so they're at a disadvantage. Nationally, Republicans have an advantage in terms of turnout, in terms of the mood of the country and national issues. And the challenge for Democrats is getting voters who don't go to the polls come out for a midterm election where there's not a lot of engagement, there's not a lot of your regular folks paying attention to some of the statewide races.
Yeah, one exception might be from the news conference we attended yesterday on Latino votes, is that David Garcia's presence on the ballot as the school superintendent nominee from the Democrats might bring more Latinos out than you would expect.
Were you surprised, though, to not see David Garcia out there maybe stumping for some others as he stumped for himself?
Well, David's got his own particular problems. It's easy for us to say, well, you've got David Garcia, who has the backing of business groups and all across the board. He's got the money. And you've got this Diane Douglas, who's running with public funds and just has a few signs around. But he's got an uphill fight in his own way, not only because this is a down ballot issue and Republicans tend to do better, but because of the fact that Diane has a single issue that does connect with voters, and that's Common Core. And that even people who don't know anything about Common Core see it as Washington intervention, and if Diane Douglas can stop it, they'll vote for her.
I kind of see that as a kind of a bellwether of how much of a Republican win this is going to be. If she wins that race, that kind of shows that Republicans turned out more, that conservatives turned out more because they don't like Common Core, and that Hispanics didn't. And people are voting, straight party ticket all the way down. So I think that race, and maybe the Goddard-Reagan race, how close that is, could say what kind of Republican year we're having.
But I think statewide, your statewide candidates, it sort of is every man and woman for him or herself. You don't see a lot of ticket being promoted. Now, you have Ruben Gallego, who's probably a cinch to pick up the congressional seat. He says that, he's got his people out working for Goddard and Duval and the Democratic ticket, sort of, trying to share the wealth. But you just don't see a lot of that combined campaigning.
Where you are seeing, curiously enough, this weekend is on the Republican side, where Doug Ducey's gotten himself a bus, thrown everyone on the bus.
Oh, boy,
John McCain's on the bus. Diane Douglas is on the bus. the whole crew is, in fact, it's tomorrow they're going to be up in Prescott, and they're just going around the state trying to rally. Now, what's been interesting is there are so many people who are the guests of honor that I think at some places they actually exceed the audience, but it does generate the publicity that's needed.
I think where you've seen Republicans have tried to team up is for Reagan, because I think that's the one where they think they're the most threatened. I think Goddard has been leading in the polls. She has had some missteps in debates and throughout the campaign, and Goddard has pretty good name ID. So I think that's one where you've seen Ducey and some other Republicans kind of step up and try to push her over. Republicans will tell you that maybe she's trailing in the polls, but if they win on turnout and it's a big Republican year, that could help her win.
Well, that's a question as well regarding the governor's race. How much of an impact down ticket do you think that could have? Because some folks are wondering if there will be a trickle-down impact.
I think it depends on, I think the question is how much Ducey's going to win by. I think if he wins by 5 or less, then not much. But if he wins by 9 or 10, which some people think could happen, you could see that down ticket thing where it's a big Republican year, and it helps Douglas, it helps Brnovich, it helps Michelle Reagan.
Well, and there's a tricky situation that Ducey has to worry about. On one hand, he wants to show he's up in the polls to keep the money coming in. On the other hand, he doesn't want to show he's too much up in the polls, because then people say, well, yeah, I don't need to be bothered going to the polling place on Tuesday. And so it's a very delicate balance.
Yeah. As far as legislative races, not too many hotly contested, but there are a few out there, aren't there?
Yes, as always, with the legislature, usually the big contests are in the primaries. That's behind us. With the general, we have a potential, first possibly happening up in north central Arizona, where we have a Senate race between Tom O'Halloran, a former Republican who has re-registered as an independent. He's running for a Senate seat, and Sylvia Allen is trying to make a return bid to the state Senate on the Republican ticket. So that'll be a real good one to watch, because as best my research can tell, this state has never elected an independent to a legislative office.
Where would he caucus?
Well, he's not saying.
Okay.
Wherever he wants to.
Yes.
Wherever he wants to. One interesting case, and you're right about everything occurring in the primary, actually is in a district that involves Shauna Bullock
28.
and Kate Brophy-McGee and Eric Meyer, who's a lone Democrat running there. Now, theoretically, Shauna is running against Eric, but Shauna would be just as happy, I think, if she managed to bounce Kate Brophy-McGee. And so you have a sort of funny rivalry there that's going on. While both of them are theoretically running against the Democrat, they're also running against each other.
Is that another bellwether race, you think, as far as legislature is concerned? If
Well,
Shauna Bullock gets in there?
It depends on who she defeats. Now, again, Eric Meyer is certainly is Democrat moderate from Paradise Valley. Kate has also aligned herself with the moderates there, and if she knocks off either of them, that becomes an interesting question. But again, it may just be it's a Republican year.
I live in that district. I get mailers from either Meyer or against Meyer or Shauna every single day for the past month. And I think it is a bellwether if she wins, because it's not a super conservative district. There's a good, he's been elected there. It's a moderate district. But if she somehow wins that race, it shows that who's turning out. It shows conservatives are energized.
And I think if that happens, that it would be a lot on the strength of the agenda that's being pushed by the Center for Arizona Policy. The whole abortion, right to choose argument is playing really big in that race, and not necessarily from Bullock herself, but from the Center for Arizona Policy Action. I forget the name of their PAC. They've been sending out a lot of mailers and single-shotting Bullock, and which has the effect of then being a no vote for the other Republican on the ticket, who's Brophy-McGee.
Kavanaugh have any threat from Paula Pennypacker out there in Fountain Hills?
It's it's hard to say. John is sort of a legend in his own mind, and the sort of larger than life, unavoidable for comment if you have a microphone. Got the name ID. Obviously, having a wife who happens to be mayor certainly is helpful. I don't know that he is, unless you've got an alternate theory on that.
No, I mean, he had a challenge in the primary, that from a moderate who you could argue is sort of more in the Pennypacker mold, and that one fell flat.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see how, even though I think Paula Pennypacker has, from indications, has been running a pretty aggressive and disciplined campaign, I don't see how he overcomes it.
It is Fountain Hills.
Yeah, and the advantages are there for any Republican running in that race. And all the handwriting on the wall, early ballots, national trends, turnout, energy, favors Republicans overall.
There's one other interesting race going on in Tucson where Ethan Orr, who's an incumbent, in a district that could be considered a Democrat district, is trying to hang on to a seat. Now, you've seen Ethan doing a few interesting things, like proposing legalization of marijuana. And it's been fascinating to watch how he's doing this little Southern Arizona dance down there to convince people that he's really a moderate.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. As far as the legislature in toto, though, more conservative, less conservative, more or less moderate, and how are they going to work with the new governor?
Well, we have second question first is who's the new governor, of course. I think it moves a little more conservative. I think given who's out there, I think the folks who have been defeated, I think that we end up with some of the same fights that we've had before over 1062 or son of 1062. If Doug Ducey is governor, I think Doug is a pragmatist. I think so is Fred Duval. I mean, I think either of them would work with the legislature. Obviously, Duval is much more in the Jan Napolitano mode of, I'm still the governor.
Well, it would seem like it would be a Napolitano redo if Duval got in there. But as far as Ducey getting in there, I mean, what happens?
Yeah, the starting point's much more farther to the right. It's probably more farther to the right than with Jan Brewer.
Exactly.
So the folks on the right in the Republican caucus take that ball and run it a little farther. So I think you see more conservative.
But is he? But the question is, for all of his talk about everything, about I'm going to eliminate the income tax. Well, maybe not. I'm going to maybe drive it down to zero. He hasn't, he is, quote unquote pro-life, but he hasn't made that an issue. And something funny happens to folks when they get in there and suddenly realize, oh man, I'm in charge.
You're the caucus of one, and you're representing everyone, not just
I don't see him as being as combative as Brewer, and she's been a very liberal governor on some issues, Medicaid, the sales tax. I don't think he's going to do that. So I don't think he'll fight those big fights like she did.
But I'm going to disagree with Howie a little bit on the legislature being more conservative. I think it's just not clear at this point. If O'Halloran knocks off Sylvia Allen, that makes the Senate ostensibly a 16-13-1 body. Then you have potential for coalitions with Democrats. There's a few moderate, quote unquote, moderate Republicans left, and O'Halloran. You bring that together, you might get a coalition. You've got some of that coalition still in the House, and again, depending on what happens with a couple of races in the House. So then you might have the center, this sort of centrist coalition. In other words, I don't think that the groundwork is there to overturn Medicaid expansion.
One thing I did see was 1062 has not been an issue. Goddard's brought it up a little bit. You've seen it a little bit in Kirkpatrick and Tobin. You had this brouhaha of this was the last straw, right? The NFL came in and we're going to pull the Super Bowl, and all the business groups were worried. It has not been an issue. What does that say to some of the Republican lawmakers that voted for that? Will they be more likely to come back with son of 1062 because of the gay marriage legalization?
You know what it says? Each of them has said, in their own way, with a few exceptions, well, it was a mistake, or Doug Ducey, well, I won't sign 1062. Well, what about some version of that? I won't sign 1062. Mm-hmm. So they've all danced around it. I think we're going to see some version of that, particularly now that gay marriage has been legal.
I don't see how you avoid that with the gay marriage rule.
Exactly.
I don't see how you avoid that. Let's move out here to dark money. In these $26 million in outside money spent on state races so far in this election cycle.
I think that was as of midweek. And now some of that is money from groups that disclose where they get their funding, and others from groups that are not required by law to disclose their donors. But that is a big chunk of money that's playing in really everything from CorpCom, legislative races, governor's race, Congress. It's everywhere.
And this is the Supreme Court ruling coming home to roost, huh?
This is partly Citizens United, but there's other rulings, including our own courts, have been wrestling with the issues of what is legal and what do you have to do and what you have to disclose. We have now decided, a la Citizens United, corporations are people too, and they have rights and they can speak. And the funny thing is that the Supreme Court never said you can't require disclosure. They sort of left it to the states. Now, we've wrestled with that, and for all the talk among all of our lawmakers on how we're going to really do this, all the talk in the Secretary of State's race, I have yet to hear an actual enforceable plan to do that.
As far as the outside money is concerned, again, by midweek, and this is just what's been reported so far, so I'm sure after the election we'll get some much stronger numbers here. 5.8 against Duval alone, 1.7 spent to back Ducey, so you got to 7.5 there total. 2.2 against Ducey. Rodolini's been the target of $2.5 million. Brnovich the target of $1.7 million. One corporation commission candidate. Sandra Kennedy, $1.3 million against that one candidate. Why?
Well, it depends on who you
She's
believe.
winning.
She may be winning, although some recent news may adjust that. But the fact is that if you believe that some of this money is coming from Pinnacle West or Arizona Public Service, they want a commission that's much more friendly. Sandra has made no bones about it during her prior tenure on the commission. She favors solar. She is not a fan of the utilities. She thinks that they should be doing more to encourage solar, and they don't want to lose that. Now, we're sitting around here because we cannot find out who is behind the Save Our Future Now committee. Now, Secretary of State's office is trying to get them to disclose. Maybe 3 years from now, when they get this through the courts, we'll know.
But the bottom line on all this, Mike, is that we're all I think we're all relatively sick of turning on the news and seeing ad after ad after ad and opening your mailbox and getting cardboard after cardboard. But they work. For the low information voter especially, they work.
They work for all voters, I would say. It's framed the Ducey race. It's framed the Attorney General's race in favor of Republicans. You get a mailer, you see an ad on Wheel of Fortune. Do you really? I mean, you have to be a pretty high efficacy voter or a watchdog to look at the bottom to see whose ad it is. I think we're at the point where we may see the end of candidate campaign ads directly from them. The dark money ads are exactly the same. Why run an ad? Why just send all the money to those guys so they can do the dirty ads, but then also run positive ads for you? I think it's a game changer. And this money here is a drop in the bucket compared to what you're seeing in other states, Florida, some of the big states where there's more competitive races. It's the trend.
Well, I think generally what you're seeing is that the outside money is. Somebody said after the primary, the new model is that you've got to have two campaigns, your own as a candidate, and then some independent expenditure committee that you don't have any association with, and the IE does the dirty work for you, and you can be the nice, good, clean candidate, and that's what you're seeing with this. Now, most voters aren't going to, like Mike said, they're not going to read the fine print to sort of discern who's doing what. But that's sort of, you've got a two-track kind of thing going on here. So the candidates can say that, well, I'm just, I've run a very upbeat campaign, and if this group wants to say all this nasty stuff about Sandra Kennedy, well,
who are they? I don't know. What's getting interesting is there's a lawsuit pending in federal court. We know there was $26 million spent, partially because even the groups that don't have to report their donors are supposed to report their expenditures under a section of law about if you influence campaigns. There is a challenge pending in front of Judge James Teelborg that says, he said, you have a 183-word description of who is a political committee. He said, I can't make it out. Lawyers can't make it out. Therefore, I think it's unconstitutionally vague. If he voids that, no political committees, no requirement to register, we don't even get to find out who gets to spend on what.
I think it's on the media and watchdog groups to connect the dots for folks, to find who's Sean Noble, who's worked for APS, who's worked for Ducey and worked guys. It's on us to do that and to connect those dots for voters, because the ads, just going through the ads, you're not going to get
But the problem is,
the difficulty is being able to nail that down conclusively, because under the law, I mean, these are very well crafted, strategies, and they stay within the law. And organizations such as the one I work for, we like to do everything on the record. You got to prove it.
And there's one other point. If Judge Teelborg decides in favor of voiding this section of Title 16, the election law, we don't even get the name of the groups. So we can't even track Save Our Future Now or Americans for Prosperity back to something. And that really blows it up. So it leaves us without any ammunition.
I think what happens is after someone's elected, then you start to see who they favor. Then you're able to maybe connect the dots a little bit.
20/20 hindsight.
Yeah, it's a lot. But before campaigns, when somebody's new, it's very difficult. It's going to get more difficult.
Will dark money be a big issue in the legislature next session, or a lot of talk and little action?
Well, probably the latter, but you do have both of the candidates for Secretary of State, which is the top elections post. They've both said dark money, bad, we need to shine a light on it. In just the last week, we've seen dark money come into that race with an ad to defeat Terry Goddard. And Michelle Reagan had said that she would denounce, both of them said they'd denounce any dark money that played in the race. Well, Goddard was quick to yell and scream about that. But Reagan wanted to change the topic and just said, I'm not going to say anything until we get Goddard to comment on something from a 2010 race. So depending on who's Secretary of State, I think to stick to their promise, they're going to have to make an effort. But the legislature, look at what happened last time. I mean, Reagan had this bill. She had worked during the off session with stakeholders, put together this plan. Sort of everybody was, kumbaya, and it passes a committee and it just disappears.
Yeah.
I think little talk and zero action. If the way things are trending, we'll see Republicans in most statewide things. They'll do well in the legislature. They view campaign finance as a Democratic issue.
Okay, and that leads to the alternate thing. There are people out there who are crafting an initiative. And if the legislature does not act, we will see something on the 2016 ballot to force greater disclosure. And that may be the one thing that gets lawmakers to act, because they hate it when the voters do something when they don't do it.
And I can't wait to see the ads against that particular
Yes.
measure.
Yes.
The money poured into that one will be in. Real quickly, we have Republican officials being punished for what? Supporting Democrats or not supporting Republicans enough, or what?
The big tent that Ronald Reagan talked about does not exist in the state's largest county. There's an ideological purity that A.J. LaFaro has insisted occur. Now, to be fair, if you are a Republican precinct committeeman, which is an elected official, and you are endorsing a Democrat, there might be something to be said there. Can you force them out? Are you actually helping your situation with your party by making this a public issue? I don't think so.
Rick Romley says it's against the law. Bill Montgomery says, no, it's not.
It's the same crew that dislikes Senator McCain, and they would probably like to erase people's photos, a la the Soviet Union, posthumously once they're excommunicated. It's essentially what they'd like to do is excommunicate the non-true believers.
And real quickly as well, it sounds as though the Democrats are supporting a libertarian in congressional district now?
Yes, interestingly, they've sent out some flyers and just to let voters know that about Powell Gamel's positions, and that he has a conservative position on some of these issues, and so between the lines, maybe you might want to cast your conservative vote for the libertarian and not for the Republican, and geez, that might just help the Democrat in the race is Kyrsten Sinema.
So they're not supporting Powell Gamel, they're just saying, here's what he believes. It's a lot like what you believe.
Oh, absolutely. And we've seen this before in other campaigns in other states where you have these straw candidates or third-party candidates that might help one party, hurt the other. It's just interesting because I think most of us assume Sinema's safe in that district. It's a Democratic-oriented district. Wendy Rogers, her opponent, hasn't really been that strong. But they are doing this, so maybe there's a little concern that there's this GOP wave, but it's unlikely.
It would be really funny if we were sitting here next week and had to see the Libertarian got elected.
No, it wouldn't be funny, Howie.
Oh, it's all funny. It's
Yeah.
like, you have to deal with this as a sense of humor,
Yeah,
Ted.
okay, thanks, Howie. All right, come Tuesday night, we're going to see any surprises, do you think?
I think if there is a surprise, it would be, and it's less and less as time goes on, that maybe the Republicans sweep the statewide offices.
Yeah, what do you think, Howie? You think there might be a surprise going on?
I think that there may be a surprise. If Fred Duval wins, I think it's going to be a surprise, quite frankly. I think it's just too little too late that he's come across. He pounded his shoe on the table and said, I'm really for education, and Doug Ducey is not. I don't see a lot of surprises. I think that some of these, it's hard to say what's a surprise when some of these are almost too close to call. The Reagan-Goddard case, the Rodolini-Brnovich. And so how do you tell what's a surprise?
It would be a surprise if everything was definitive on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I mean, county is already talking about, probably 2 weeks to get everything counted.
Yeah, our 1 hour show may last for 2 weeks. What do you think? Any surprises?
I think the biggest surprise would be if you saw Republicans win all those congressional races. I don't think Sinema's going to lose, but if Tobin and McSally win, and then Reagan somehow comes back, I think Reagan would be probably the biggest surprise, beating Goddard. The Republicans are decent shape in the other ones. Douglas and Garcia should be close. If Douglas wins by a wider margin than expected, then we're seeing a big GOP year.
Interesting. Douglas and Garcia might be pretty close.
I think it'll be tight, and I think Douglas might win and surprise some folks.
Interesting. That would be. All right. Good stuff, guys. We'll see what happens on Tuesday. Monday on Arizona Horizon, an Election Eve special featuring highlights of our debates on this year's ballot propositions as well as candidate debates for Congressional Districts 1, 7, and 9. That's Monday on the next Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, It is election night. Join us at 5:30 for the best of the debates between candidates for statewide office, and at 10 we'll have a full 1-hour show with election results and analysis. Wednesday, a Phoenix organization connects retired adults with nonprofits that could use their talents. Thursday, the founding dean of ASU's Barrett Honors College joins us to talk about his career. And Friday, it's another edition of the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.